Welcome to Bass Lessons with Josh. Today we're going to be talking about solos. Okay, at some point, as a musician, you're going to encounter a time where you're going to have to think of your own solo, which is why this lesson is actually useful not only for bass players but also for other instruments as well. Now, the first step to thinking of a good solo is always to listen. Listening always gives you an idea on what you're working with. That is very important. In fact, you know what? Listen to it twice. The first time is to let you get an idea of what you're working with. And the second time, that is when you start thinking about your solo. Throughout listening to that piece the second time, to your solo section or whatever melody you're working with, you are constantly thinking about your solo. You're constantly thinking about what you can put into your solo based on what you have listened to. Now, in order to come up with a solo, of course, you're going to have to know what key you're in. Without knowing what key you're in, you don't know what scales to use, and you wouldn't know what to play in your solo. Now, at this point, a lot of students get really excited because they know what they can use. They know the tools they have in order to think of a solo. But however, this can be a problem because a lot of the time, students also don't know when to end their solo. They don't know when their solo section ends. This is why it's important to phrase your solos. Phrasing your solo helps you know when a solo section ends. Now, phrasing means to evenly divide your solo into phrases. So if you had a 16 bar solo section, you could either divide it into 4, where you'd have 4 bar phrases, or you could divide it into 2, where you'd have 2 8-bar phrases. And so if you had like a 32 bar solo, then you could also do 8 4-bar phrases or 4 8-bar phrases. Or you could have 2 16-bar phrases, because 2 times 16 equals 32, 4 times 8 equals 32, 8 times 4 equals 32. It's always easier to think in terms of phrases than in entire sections. For me, the most important thing when it comes to soloing is to always think about the melody. Soloing is not about overplaying. It's not about playing the most amount of notes you can in a given solo section, in a given amount of bars. But it's better to think of how you can interpret the melody. And if you ever get stuck, you always go back to the melody. I'm going to show you an example where I'm going to be playing through a jazz standard called Blue Bossa. So in this example, I'm going to be playing the melody once, followed by a solo. The melody is 16 bars, and so is the solo section. Notice how you could hear the melody throughout my solo. The reason why I think knowing the melody is the most important thing is because it helps you with your entire solo. Knowing the melody well helps you with everything I just talked about in this video. I'd like to thank all of you for watching this video, and I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you next time.